So where did the name Amazon come from?
Earth's biggest river, Earth's biggest selection.
Okay, that seems simple. Was that an easy choice, or were there other candidates?
Well, the first name I named it Cadabra. It's really hard to impress upon you how small this beginning was. But when I was driving to Seattle, I wanted to hit the ground running. I wanted to have a company incorporated, and I wanted to have bank accounts set up. And so I called a friend, and he recommended his lawyer to me. It turned out this guy was actually his divorce attorney. But this guy incorporated the company for me and set up bank accounts and said, I need to know what name you want the company to be for the incorporation papers. And I said, this is over the phone. I said, Cadabra, like abracadabra, but I just said Cadabra. And he said, Cadaver? And I was like, okay, that's not gonna work. And, but I'm like, go ahead with Cadabra for now. And I'll change it. And so like 3 months later, I changed it to Amazon.
Okay. You grew up in Texas initially.
Yes, I was born in Albuquerque, but I left when I was 3 or 4 and I moved to Texas.
You moved to Texas, and from early age, were you a pretty smart student and your teachers tell you this, you were good? Or?
I have always been academically smart. By the way, the older I get, I realize how many kinds of smart there are. There are a lot of kinds of smart. There are a lot of kinds of stupid too.
Right.
But I see people all the time who I know they wouldn't have gotten A+ on their calculus exams, but they're incredibly smart. But yes, I was a very good student.
Right. So you ultimately moved to high school in Miami.
Yes.
And then you were valedictorian of your class.
Yes.
And then you gave a speech as the valedictorian saying you thought we should colonize space or something like that?
I did. I graduated from high school in 1982, and there were 750 kids in my graduating class, and I loved high school. I had so much fun. I lost my library privileges because I laughed too loudly in the library. And everything I've ever done has started small. Amazon started with a couple of people, and Blue Origin started with 5 people, and the budget at Blue Origin was very, very small. Now the budget at Blue Origin approaches $1 billion a year. And next year it'll be more than $1 billion. So in Amazon, it literally was 10 people. Today it's 500,000 people, but it's hard to remember for you guys, but for me it's like yesterday I was driving the packages to the post office myself and hoping one day we could afford a forklift. And so for me, I've seen small things get big, and it's part of this day one mentality. I like treating things as if they're small. Amazon, even though it is a large company, I wanted to have the heart and spirit of a small one. And so anyway, the day one foundation is going to be like that.
So what propelled you to sell things more than books? I mean, obviously, if you're only selling books today, you wouldn't be the richest man in the world, presumably. It's the idea that you're selling other things. When did you first get the idea to sell other things?
After books, we started selling music, and then we started selling videos. And then I got smart, and I emailed 1,000 randomly selected customers and asked them, besides the things we sell today, what would you like to see us sell? And that answer came back incredibly long-tailed. People, basically the way they answered the question was with whatever they were looking for at that moment. So like I remember one of the answers was, I wish you sold windshield wiper blades because I really need windshield wiper blades. And I thought to myself, we can sell anything this way. And then we launched electronics and toys and many other categories over time. And the vision became, because you read the original business plan, it's just books. This is so important because that is the secret sauce of Amazon, where there are several principles at Amazon, but the number one thing that has made us successful by far is obsessive, compulsive focus on the customer as opposed to obsession over the competitor. And I talk so often to other CEOs and some other CEOs and also founders and entrepreneurs, and I can tell that even though they're talking about customers, they're really focusing on competitors. And it is a huge advantage to any company if you can stay focused on your customer instead of your competitor. So then you have to identify who is your customer. So at the Washington Post, for example, is the customer the people who buy advertisements from us? No, the customer is the reader. Full stop. The customer is the reader. And then, by the way, where do advertisers want to be? Advertisers want to be where there are readers. So it's really not that complicated. It comes around really well.
I mean, you told your parents you were going to quit D.E. Shaw, where you're successful, making presumably a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
And you told your wife, Mackenzie, that you're going to move across the country. What did they all say?
They were immediately and reflexively supportive right after they asked the question, what's the internet? With your loved ones, you bet on them. You are betting on the person. When I told my boss, David Shaw, that I was going to do this thing, he went on a long walk with him in Central Park, and he said, you know what, Jeff, this is a really good idea. I think you're onto a good idea here, but this would be a better idea for somebody who didn't already have a good job.
Right.
And that actually made so much sense to me that he convinced me to think about it for 2 days before making a final decision. And that was, and it's one of those decisions I made with my heart and not my head. And I basically said, I don't want to regret, when I'm 80, now 90, I want to have minimized the number of regrets that I have in my life. And most of our regrets are acts of omission. They're things we didn't try. It's the path untraveled. Those are the things that haunt us.
Well, in 1997, you went public.
Yeah.
And the value of the company was under $1 billion, then maybe 600 million or something.
Three something, I think.
Right.
At our IPO.
So.
And then went underwater for a while.
Right. Your stock at one point, I think, went to $100, but then it went down to $6 or something like that.
At the peak of the internet bubble, our stock peaked somewhere around $113.
Thanks.
And then after the internet bubble, busted open, our stock went down to $6. It went from 113 to 6 in less than a year. My annual shareholder that year starts with a one-word sentence, and that one-word sentence is the word "ouch." I have been lecturing. We have all hands meetings at Amazon, and for 20 years, ever since we've been public, 21 years now, in 1997, at almost every all hands meeting, I say, look, when the stock is up 30% in a month, don't feel 30% smarter. Because when the stock is down 30% in a month, it's not going to feel so good to feel 30% dumber. And that's what happens. The great quote that Warren Buffett brings up all the time, but Benjamin Graham said, which is in the short run, the stock market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. And what you need to do is operate your company in such a way knowing that it will be weighed one day, and just let it be weighed. Never spend any time thinking about the daily stock price. I don't.
So most of those internet companies of the dot-com era are out of business.
Yeah.
You survived. What was it that made you to survive, and virtually the rest of them are gone?
Well, that whole period is very interesting because the stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And so as I watched the stock fall from 113 to 6, I was also watching all of our internal business metrics, number of customers, profit per unit, everything you can imagine, defects, etc. Every single thing about the business was getting better and fast. And so as the stock price was going the wrong way, everything inside the company was going the right way. And we didn't need to go back to the capital markets. We didn't need more money. The only reason, a financial bust like the internet bubble bursting is, makes it really hard to raise money. But, we already had the money we needed. So we just needed to continue to progress.
Well, Wall Street kept saying, well, Amazon's not making any money. They're just getting customers. Where's the profits? Where are the profits? And Wall Street kept beating you up on that. And your response was, I don't really care what you think?
Well, I was on television with Tom Brokaw. He pulled together half a dozen internet entrepreneurs from that era. This is, right before the bubble burst, maybe, or right after, I can't remember, but in that area. And he was interviewing all of us, and he finally turned to me, and he said, Mr. Bezos, can you even spell profit? By the way, Tom Brokaw is now one of my good friends, but he's like, can you even spell profit? And I said, sure, P-R-O-P-H-E-T. And he burst out laughing. And Amazon people always accused us of selling dollar bills for 90 cents. That's not what we were doing. We always had positive gross margins. It's a fixed cost business. And so what I could see is that from the internal metrics is that at a certain volume level, that we would cover our fixed costs and the company would be profitable.
So who came up with the idea of Prime? Prime seems to be a great way to get money in advance of people actually getting the services.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
Actually, it's very interesting. So, like many inventions inside of a team, and I love team inventing is my favorite thing. I love Amazon. I have so much fun there. I love Blue Origin. I love the Washington Post. But Amazon is my full-time job, and I get to invent. I get to live 2 to 3 years in the future. And most of the invention we do there is, if somebody has an idea, and then other people improve the idea, and other people come up with objections why it can never work. It's a very fun process. Prime, there were a couple of things. One of our board members, Bing Gordon, always wanted us to have a loyalty program. He would bring this up at every board meeting. And the loyalty programs that we would think about were things like frequent flyer mile programs, which don't really work in a business like Amazon, in my opinion. There are a lot of reasons that they work for airlines, but that's different. And there are structural differences. Actually, kind of a junior software engineer came up with this idea, not as a loyalty program, but this idea that we could offer people kind of an all-you-can-eat buffet of fast, free shipping. So we have some very specific ideas of what we want to do, but I believe in the power of wandering. All of my best decisions in business and in life have been made with heart, intuition, guts, not analysis. When you can make a decision with analysis, you should do so. But it turns out in life that your most important decisions are always made with instinct, intuition, taste, heart. And that's what we'll do with this Day One Foundation too. It's part of that Day One mentality. As we go about, building out this network of nonprofit schools, we'll learn new things and we'll figure out how to make it better.
You have become the wealthiest man in the world. Is that a title that you really wanted, or is it a burden?
I can assure you I have never sought that title. It was fine being the second wealthiest person in the world. That actually worked fine. It's something people naturally are curious about. I think I would much rather if they said like inventor Jeff Bezos or entrepreneur Jeff Bezos or father Jeff Bezos. Those kinds of things are much more meaningful to me. And it's an output measure. If you look at the financial success of Amazon and the stock, I own 16% of Amazon. Amazon's worth roughly $1 trillion. That means that what we have built over 20 years, we have built $840 billion of wealth for other people. And that's really from a financial point of view, that's what we've done. We've built $840 billion of wealth for other people. And that's great. That's how it should be. I believe so powerfully in the ability of entrepreneurial capitalism and free markets to solve so many of the world's problems. Not all of them, but so many of them. When we make mistakes, and we've made doozies like the Fire Phone and many other things that just didn't work out, we don't have enough time for me to list all of our failed experiments, but the big winners pay for thousands of failed experiments. So you try something like Prime, and it was very expensive at the beginning. It cost us a lot of money, because what happens when you offer a free all-you-can-eat buffet? Who shows up to the buffet first? The heavy eaters. It's scary. It's like, oh my God, did I really say as many prawns as you can eat? Oh. And so that is what happened. But surely we could see the trend lines. We could see that all kinds of customers were coming and they appreciated that service. Amazon buys a lot of companies. Usually they're much smaller than Whole Foods, but we buy a bunch of companies every year. And I'm always trying to assess, when I meet with the entrepreneur who founded the company, I'm always trying to figure out one thing first and foremost. Is that person a missionary or a mercenary? And the mercenaries are trying to flip their stock. The missionaries love their product or their service and love their customer and are trying to build a great service. By the way, the great paradox here is that it's usually the missionaries who make more money. And you can tell really quickly just by talking to people. And when I met John Mackey, who's the founder of Whole Foods, it's a missionary company. He's a missionary guy. And so what we're going to be able to do is take some of our resources, some of our technological know-how, and expand the Whole Foods mission. They have a great mission, which is to bring nourishing food to everybody, organic, nourishing food to everybody. But we have a lot to bring to that table in terms of resources, but also in terms of operational excellence and in terms of technology know-how.
What about that laugh? Where did you get that laugh from? It is distinctive.
I've had that laugh all my life. There was not that short, there was a multi-year period where my brother and sister would not see a movie with me because they thought it was too embarrassing. But I don't know why I have this laugh. It's just, and I laugh easily and often. The people who know me, you ask my mom or anybody who knows me well, and they'll say, if Jeff's unhappy, wait 5 minutes. And I can't maintain unhappiness. I guess I have, good serotonin levels or something. You
just said that you sit around with your team, but you don't like meetings before 10 a.m.
No.
You like to get 8 hours of sleep, and you don't like PowerPoints. Explain all that. Why is that?
Okay, I go to bed early, I get up early, I like to putter in the morning, so I like to read the newspaper, breakfast with my kids before they go to school, and so that's why I set my first meeting for 10 o'clock. I like to do my high IQ meetings before lunch, like anything that's going to be really mentally challenging, that's a 10 o'clock meeting. Because by 5 p.m., I'm like, I can't think about that today. Let's try this again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Then on sleep, I get 8 hours of sleep, I prioritize it. Unless I'm traveling in different time zones, I am very focused on it, and for me, I need 8 hours of sleep. I think better, I have more energy, and think about it, as a senior executive, you get paid to make a small number of high quality decisions. Your job is not to make thousands of decisions every day. So let's say that I slept 6 hours a day, or let's go really crazy and say I slept 4 hours a day. So now I just got 4 so-called productive hours back. I'm a student of Montessori school. I started at Montessori when I was 2 years old, and the teacher complained to my mother, the Montessori school teacher complained to my mother that I was too task focused and that she couldn't get me to switch tasks, so she would have to just pick up my chair and move me. And by the way, I think that's, if you ask the people who work with me, that's still probably true.
But did that teacher ever call you since and said she was responsible for your success?
No, I'm in touch with several of my high school and elementary school teachers, though, but I don't know any of my Montessori school teachers.
Okay. So the gift that you're giving, essentially, you're going to have some for preschool for children who need preschool, preschool.
Yeah, full tuition preschool, Montessori inspired. I'm very excited about that because I'm going to operate that. That's going to be an operating nonprofit. I'm going to hire an executive team. There's going to be a leadership team. We're going to operate these schools, and we're going to put them in low-income neighborhoods.
Why did you buy the Washington Post? You had no background in that area. What convinced you to do that?
Okay, first of all, I was not looking for a newspaper. I had no intention of buying a newspaper. I had never thought about the idea. It had never occurred to me. It was never something, it wasn't like a childhood dream, nothing. My friend, Don Graham, he approached me through an intermediary and wanted to know if I would be interested in buying the Washington Post. And I sent back word that I would not because I didn't really know anything about newspapers. And Don convinced me that that was unimportant because we had, inside the Washington Post, we have so much talent that understands newspaper. That wasn't what the problem was. What they needed was somebody who had an understanding of the internet. So that was the first thing. That's kind of how it got started. And then I did some soul searching. And again, the financial situation of the Washington Post at that time was very upside down. And it's a fixed cost business, and they had lost a lot of revenue over the previous 5 or 6 years. The problem was a secular one. The internet was just eroding all of the traditional advantages that local newspapers had, all of them. There's one gift that the internet brings newspapers. It destroys almost everything, but it brings one gift, and that is free global distribution. In the old days of paper newspapers, you would have to build printing plants everywhere, and your logistics operations to have a truly global newspaper, or even a national newspaper, super expensive, heavy capex investments. That's why so few papers actually became national or global. Not really no global ones. But today with the internet, you get that gift of free distribution. So we had to take advantage of that gift. And that was the basic strategy. We had to switch from a business model where we made a lot of money per reader with a relatively small number of readers to a tiny bit of money per reader on a very large number of readers. And that's the transition that we did last night. I'm pleased to report to you that the Post is profitable today. The newsroom is growing. It's been growing every year since I've been there. This is an important institution. It is the newspaper in the capital city of the most important country in the world.
So when you agreed to buy it, I think the asking price was $250 million. You didn't negotiate?
No. Don, I asked him how much he wanted. He said $250. I said fine. I didn't negotiate with him, and I did no due diligence. And I wouldn't need to with Don. He told me
I have something I'd like to sell.
The Washington Post has an incredibly important role to play in this democracy. And so as soon as I had passed through that gate, I only had one more gate that I had to go through before telling Don yes, and that was I wanted to look myself, be really open with myself and look in a mirror and sort of think about the company and be sure that I was optimistic that it could work. Because, if it were hopeless, that would also be not something I would get involved in.